Seeing all the panels throughout this chapter, not just one panel, but there were so many panels in this chapter that really just crushed my soul. Because after reading Hunter x Hunter, and reading One Piece, and reading Bleach, and all that, and then I get to Boku no Hero Academia. I get to this chapter. I was expecting some good shit, obviously. It's Boku no Hero Academia. But, however, I did not expect to see what I saw in this chapter, especially the mini flashback to the meaning of the symbol of peace at the end. Oh, that destroyed me. That fucking destroyed me. Like, I seriously was left speechless after reading this chapter. I had to take a moment and just go outside, sit down in my chair, and just look off in the distance. I'm not even joking. That's exactly what I fucking did. When I finished that chapter, I got out of my big red chair, walked down the stairs, went through my front door, sat in my fucking chair outside, and just sat back and looked off into the distance. I was like, oh my god, that just happened. That really just happened. And it amazes me with how the writing of this series is just so good. So fucking good. It's just so good. And I already made this comment on Twitter at the time of me making this video. I made the post on Twitter saying, out of reading all the chapters today, out of reading every single chapter, Toriko, Bleach, One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, now Boku no Hero Academia, all the chapters that came out today that I'm going to be putting up a review for, I personally want to say, in my opinion, I think I enjoyed Boku no Hero Academia the best today. I gotta say it. I gotta be truthful to my feelings. I gotta say, I liked Boku no Hero Academia the most today. The reason for this is because of the meaning. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my Hisoka versus Kuroro fight. That's some badass shit going on. I love that. I love the, Alice in Wonderland theme going on in One Piece. I love what's going on with Ichigo's transformation. I love all the shit. I love what's going on with Toriko and God and stuff. But I gotta say, when it came to this chapter, I love Boku no Hero Academia. And when you see this fight raging on, and then All For One is using these mind games to manipulate All Might, get inside his head, get under his skin, and fuck with him to the point to where he is about to die, I was just like, All Might, no, stop, All Might. And as, the chapter continues in the dialogue, we get some flashbacks. And this is probably some of the most touching things throughout the entire chapter. All Might is pretty much weakened, as we know. He got a power down a little bit. We saw that at the end of last week's chapter, and he brings it over into this chapter. He's, weakened. He can't really use his powers. Time limit is up. And All For One is still pretty much good to go. He's still ready to continue on fighting, bashing at All Might. And All Might is pretty fucked up at this moment. He's really fucked up. Like, he's damaged. You see how he's beaten a little bit. And he's sitting there holding his own against All For One. And then all of a sudden, the conversation begins. And All For One's like, you know what, All Might? I hate you just as much as you hate me. You know what? Let's remove this symbol of peace. Let's remove what everybody thinks you are, and let's show your true form. He doesn't say these exact words, but let's show your true form to the entire world. And as you all know, if you've been watching the anime of Boku no Hero Academia, just very recently, it was said how All Might views himself, how he views his weakened self, how he views his pitiful excuse for a body. He's already said how he views himself in the recent episodes of the anime, and this is how I feel that this manga chapter couldn't have came at a perfect time, because just recently, in the anime, it kind of talks about this entire situation of how All Might doesn't want people to see how he truly looks, because it would kind of diminish their viewpoint on the symbol of peace. He doesn't want people to see what is really there. He doesn't want them to see how weak he is at this time. And when this shroud is finally removed, everybody in the entire world finally gets to see All Might. Everybody's face, everybody's shocked. Everybody looks at the screen and realizes something is wrong. Something is wrong with All Might. And you see the shock, the terror in so many faces of everybody. Izuku, he remembers, he has these flashbacks. Bakugo, how he's shocked. Todoroki, so many people just absolutely shocked when they see All Might. And then, despite all of this, everybody continues to cheer for All Might. And that right there, man, that hit me so hard. I'm like, bro, everybody is sitting there cheering for him. Like, All Might, go All Might, go All Might, help help, help All Might, all sorts of stuff. I'm like, bro, that's so good. When you just see that scene of how everybody, even though they know the truth about All Might, they know how weak he is, how he looks now, they still cheer him on. They cheer on their symbol of peace. I'm like, my god, that is so emotional. It's just so fucking emotional. Because when you see how everybody you expected to just say, ooh, what the fuck is this? And just, toss All Might to the side, that didn't happen. So many people were still cheering. Everybody was still cheering for All Might. Their symbol, their strongest hero. And I was just smiling like, oh my god, that is just so emotional. Just seeing that shit. And Bakugo cheering, Todoroki cheering, Izuku cheering. It was just such a good fucking moment of this chapter. But then, despite all of this, there's some very sad moments that really just stab that knife into your fucking heart and twist it. The moments to when the shroud is removed and finally everybody gets to see All Might's face. All Might's cover was blown. Now everybody knows how weak he is. And that instantly puts a situation on All Might. Regardless of how everybody feels about All Might at this time. Regardless. Let's just say All Might makes it out of here alive. He survives. It still doesn't change the fact All Might is weak. Now everybody knows about this. Villains know about this. Everybody knows. And that puts All Might in a spot. People are going to be hunting after him. Villains are not going to be as scared as they once were, knowing All Might is in a weakened state. They can push him to the point to where he can power down, and they can eventually kill him. They now know this. And seeing that, it makes me sad, because now All Might can no longer be a hero like he really wants to be. He now will have to finally step down as a hero, and probably the symbol of peace. Now, carrying on after that point, the real fucked up part about this chapter is what All For One does. All For One, he straight up is messing with All Might's mind. He's getting under his skin and just absolutely deconstructing him as a person and just tearing him apart limb from limb, not in the physical sense, but in the mental sense. And you have it to where these buildings are all broken, and behind All Might, you see this person right behind him, and it's like, help, and all that, reaching out the hand, and All Might is right in front of this person, and All For One is like, you have to probably take this. I wouldn't dodge if I were you. And All For One puts his power, his quirk abilities together, and he shoots another blast at All Might, and if All Might was to dodge, that person behind him would die. And so All Might, being down, weakened down in his, power down state, he takes the blast straight, head on. And as he takes the blast, you see how damaged he is, how beaten he is thanks to that, and how he had to protect that person, even though he currently at this time can't really use his ability, because it's life-threatening. In that moment, All For One continues to pick at All Might, saying how weak he is, and then also talking about, oh, why aren't you smiling? That's funny. You should smile. And that right there, that fucked me up real bad. It really fucked me up, because I don't know how many people caught that scene, like really caught that scene that All For One did to All Might. As we know, All Might always said to smile. He's always smiling, he's putting on a smiling face regardless of the situation, it was said. And I believe, I could be incorrect about this, but I believe he also said this to Izuku, like pretty much continuously smile. And we get a flashback of what happened in the past with the previous owner of One For All. We get to see the teacher, Nana, the teacher of All Might. And, of course, now this teacher has been confirmed to be a female. But it doesn't stop there, though. The main thing is that All For One pries at this. And he's like, oh, this is funny, why aren't you smiling? He brings up how Nana was the grandmother of Shigaraki. And then the entire fucked up twist is finally out in the open. It's finally out for us all to see. All Might realizes what has happened, how warped Shigaraki has gotten, thanks to what has happened here. What All For One has done to the grandchild of the previous One For All user, Shigaraki. When you see the face of All Might, of how sad he gets when he doesn't smile, and he realizes the truth of how he stormed into the bar and was arresting Shigaraki, the very grandchild of his once mentor, you see the sadness in All Might's face. He's absolutely shocked. It's a face we've never seen All Might make. It was just utter sadness. And when he's making this face, like I said, All for One, he does this. Oh, that's weird. You're not doing this anymore. You're not smiling. And then the next page, we shift over, and we get to see and find out that Nana was a girl. And she talks about how All Might needs to always smile in any situation. No matter the situation, you always have to smile, and that's how you know you're strong and all that. And when you see it cut down, you see how she does this. The actual previous owner of One for All puts her like, you need to smile and all that. And pretty much the exact same facial expression that All for One did in the previous page. I don't know how many caught that, but that right there just goes to show you how the levels of fucked up that really was. How fucked up that scene was when you see All for One do that to All Might, and then All Might remembers that flashback. It completely fucks up everything. And when you see the sadness in his face, you see how he's crying, and you see tears coming out of his eyes. That's sad. That's really sad. And as he continues to fight, when he states at the end of the chapter and everybody's cheering for him, he's like, I still have my power, and he buffs up, and you just see his, his quirk One for All finally come out again. He's buffing himself back up at the cost of his life. That shit made me so hyped but sad, because this is, in fact, the end. We know this is the end of All Might, and if he doesn't die here, it's the end of his career. It's the end of his hero career. Definitely. Sad. And just seeing how he continues to fight, even though he's been weakened to that extent. His entire shroud as what he once was is now uncovered for everybody to see. And now he knows the truth of what has really happened to Shigaraki. And then also now seeing and remembering his mentor in the past. It just gets to you. And it just goes to show you how much All Might really cared for the previous user of One for All. How much he cared for her. And how much he respected her. And how much it really wounds him of what All for One did to her. It really gets to you. So that's about it when it comes to this chapter of Boku no Hero Academia. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.